At 10 o'clock, we'll call the board meeting for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do you have anything for public time?
Are we going to be able to ask questions of the auditor after he gives his report?
Oh, you can.
Okay, then I don't have any public comments then, but I do have some questions for the auditor if I can do that after he gives his report.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I did not receive an agenda for this meeting, even though I have a FOIA out for it. It's supposed to be emailed to me. I did not receive it as of like 9:45 when I checked my email. I want to encourage you again to rethink doing this 18-hour notice special meeting thing. This is the second time this month we've had a special meeting. Again, this is business that should have been conducted prior to this. This is last minute stuff again. So I'm hoping you ask the auditor here and the audit firm for some tips on how to avoid being this last minute group. Also, I'm going to note that Frisch is absent again. And that's, again, just really unacceptable, particularly with this topic, the audit of this township. So, gosh, I just wish there was some way to get that issue fixed. Because we haven't seen him, we've only seen him a few times this year at meetings. And they were mostly special meetings, one time at a regular board meeting. I would like to hear from the auditor how it's going with the reconciling of the accounts, because, that's something that's pretty odd, that a township has to have an audit firm reconcile the accounts each month, which is something that you guys have struggled with for years based on the audit reports. And so I'd like to hear something about that and how much it's costing the township each month and that type of thing, costing the taxpayers like my parents here each month. And by the way, these special meetings cost extra money to the taxpayers, don't they? Because they have to pay you in addition to, for not getting this business done on time.
You're incorrect. Okay, you're making a statement
So,
that's incorrect again.
Okay, so you don't get paid extra? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good to know. So, yeah, if you can explain that at some point, not during my public comment, I would love to hear how that does it. Because in other places, it actually is extra money for the taxpayers to pay. And again, just to remind you, it is your job. It is not some kind of like courtesy that you do for taxpayers here to have transparency and to follow laws and to provide the information that by law you are supposed to provide to anyone who asks. A meeting like this is, again, just not fulfilling that transparency and not doing your jobs well. Thank you.
Eric, you have the floor.
Great. I gave each of you a packet there in a blue envelope. I've seen a couple of you looking at it already. A couple of housekeeping notes there. There are 3 letters in there. One of them's on your letterhead that Dan, Julie, and Chris has signed. It's called Management Representation Letter. There's 45 items in there that individually you're attesting to. They pertain mostly to the you have fulfilled your responsibilities, you have no knowledge of fraud, you provided us with all the information, that kind of thing. The other 2 are required communications from us to you, one on internal control, one on aspects of the audit. Pretty much the same letters we've issued the past couple of years. There is a set of graphs there. I'm going to skip over those for now. We'll catch those at the end. If you'll turn to Roman numeral 1, that starts our auditor's report on our letterhead. This is basically what you pay us for. The second paragraph there says, in our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects respect the financial position of the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund and aggregate remaining fund information in Mayfield Township as of June 30, 2025, and the respective changes in financial position for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. It's called an unqualified or a clean opinion. It's the best you can get. The remainder of the letter talks about our basis for the opinion, the responsibilities of you for the financial statements, and our responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. Return to Roman numeral 5, so where we'll spend a little more time. Bottom of page, Roman numeral 5 through top of the page, Roman numeral 8 is a condensed version of everything that follows. This is part of management's discussion and analysis section of financial statements. Bottom of page 5 is a condensed version of the governmental activities statement of net position. You can see at a glance that your total assets are up in the governmental activities by about $285,000. A lot of that, or the bulk of that, has to do with the addition of the building out back here. You can also see your liabilities, total liabilities there dropped by $366,000. That's due to the spending down of the ARPA funds. A lot, and again, a lot of that went into the building out back here. So you had a total positive net change in your net position of the governmental activities of $650,000. Roman numeral 4, top of that page is the business activities of the township, which is the airport. You can see the total assets decreased by about $113,000. Liabilities increased by $147,000. The asset decrease is roughly the amount of the depreciation on the airport assets. The increase in liabilities has to do with the LAI lawsuit and accruing that payment. The net position of the airport dropped by about $260,000 over the year. The bottom section there is the combined totals. It shows overall the township had an increase in total net position of $390,000. Over on Roman numeral 7, this is the statement, or a summary of the statement of changes in net position, for in layman terms, an income statement. You can see your total revenue increased by about $200,000, the bulk of which is an increase in grant revenue due to the spending of the ARPA funds that was deferred from prior years. It's picked up in the year in which it's spent. Your total expenditures were down about $240,000. You can see the bulk of that's in the public works. We had a large road project in the 2024 year end. Did not have as much going on in 2025. The bottom section there is, again, the airport. You can see its revenues increased by about $29,000. The expenditures, however, increased about $260,000. About $290,000, which resulted in a negative change in that position of about $260,000. First year it's gone backwards in a while. The top of Roman numeral 8 is just those two statements combined, showing the total for the township. questions on that section? Okay. Then we'll go to the graphs. Prepared, I think there's 10 graphs here. Pie charts and bar graphs. The first one is general fund revenue sources. You can see the revenues. The orange section there increased a little bit. That's the ARPA revenue that was recognized in the current year, but everything else about the same size as it was the prior year. The second chart, actually the next two charts are bar graphs showing 10 years of state shared revenue and property taxes. The first one there shows them separately. You can easily see when they're going up or down each year. Still a little bit behind 2023 as far as state share revenue goes. The second one shows the total of those revenues combined. You can see the trend there as that keeps rising. Then we have a chart of the governmental, or the general fund expenditures. You can see where the public works decreased in size a little bit due to the road work in 24 versus 25. The next one is a 10-year comparison of those same items. You'll see a big jump in the blue bar for 2025. That's the building. For fund expenditures, that's expensed in the current year.
Eric, on this chart on, it says 2005, I guess that's a typo.
That is a typo. That should have said 2025.
Okay.
Sorry about that. The next one is a 10-year comparison of the general fund revenue versus expenditures. You can easily see which years you've spent more than you brought in, and vice versa. The next one is the operating revenues from the airport fund, 2-year pie chart comparison. You'll see a big difference there in both the blue and the reddish areas. You started selling your own fuel at the airport. That fuel sale is in the red section versus the blue section being mostly hangar rents.
You think that's the 61,317? On that one, that we talking about?
Yep, that's, most of that is just other revenues as well as your fuel sales. I don't know exactly the breakdown of that in there.
So instead of getting 10 cents a ton or whatever,
If we were getting that.
The next one shows the airport operating expenditures, 2-year comparison there. Here's 3 graphs showing net comparison, the net position, first one being the airport. You can see that net position been slightly decreasing over those last 10 years. A lot of that has to do with depreciation. Special revenue funds have been fairly steady for at least the last 3. I guess we're 4th in my net position. revolving improvement fund, which again has been steady for the last 3 years, bringing a little bit of interest in it. And the last one's the general fund. Any questions?
I don't have anything standing over it.
Additional details are throughout those financial statements. If anybody has questions later, they can get hold of me.
I'll make a motion to accept the 2024-25 audit from Mattina County Gibbons as presented.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Kile?
Yes.
Maasch?
Yes.
Frisch? Absent. Engelman?
Yes.
And Schlaud.
Yeah, motion to pass and accept it. Eric, I'll leave it up to you. If you want to answer questions from the audience, that's it.
I will take them. I won't guarantee I have answers.
Keep it reasonable.
Well, it looks to me like the township is in good financial position steadily. Would you concur with that?
I would.
You don't see any red flags in terms of, money coming in or expenditures going out. It seems like things keep moving along in a balanced position.
Yes.
All right. As you know, the 2024 audit report was filed on January 31st, 2025, a full month after it was due and after a delinquency letter had been sent by the state. Now we are at this last minute special meeting literally on the day that the audit is due. What suggestions could you give in the future so that Mayfield Township might complete the audit portion in our process in a timely manner?
My thoughts on that is that this was actually caused by third-party confirmation of some items. In both cases, we got it very late. We'd asked for it earlier, but got it much later than we anticipated.
So things
Yes.
were done in a timely manner, but you didn't get the information back.
Correct.
Okay, I was just concerned because of last year it being so late, and then here we go, we're at the last minute again. But there really isn't anything you would suggest. You feel like things were started early enough.
Nothing I think the township could do about it, no.
Okay, thank you. It's my understanding that as a result of the deficiencies that were found in previous audits, your firm was hired to complete the monthly reconciliation of the township's bank statements beginning April 30th, 2025. What is the additional fee for this service?
I don't know at this time.
Okay. There is an additional fee probably though.
Yes, there will be an additional fee.
Okay. Is it unusual for a municipality that has a treasurer to farm that job out?
There are many instances on the state website where you will find a township has a bank reconciliation deficiency. So they're either not being done or they're being farmed out. In their case, I think they have somebody on staff now that will be taking that over as of July.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Are you familiar with the monthly treasurer's reports?
I am not.
Would it surprise you to know that on the monthly reports showing the different accounts and the ending balance of one month does not match the beginning balance of the next month?
reports don't play a part in our audits.
So you don't look at
I
that
don't
kind
look
of
at-
stuff?
I don't look at those, no.
Okay, well, like, here's March with those balances, and then April, those numbers don't match. That's not correct.
There could have been adjustments made at the end of 1 month after the meeting, I don't know.
And that wouldn't show,
But that would be up to the board to explain, so.
in the figures here, those
To say, I'm
adjustments.
not really familiar with those reports.
Okay. Have you reviewed the annual budget and the amendments? Is that something that you
That's
would have
part-
looked at?
That's part of our audit.
Okay,
and
Oh.
It's also part of the financial statements.
okay. The last several years, the board has budgeted salary increases for themselves. But then during the annual meeting, those raises have been voted down, or they've been given zero increases. From what I can understand of the budget, there's not been a budget amendment then to go back and revise those salary figures, resulting in the next year's budget shows incorrect salary figures and misleading salary figures that then build on the next proposed raise. Any thoughts on that?
That does not affect a budget for the next fiscal year. Each fiscal year's budget is set in and of itself. It's not, it doesn't roll any amount. So if there's $10,000 left in 1 year's budget, it doesn't
Right.
necessarily
Right.
roll into the next one.
Right. But my point is that when the general public would look at that budget, then they would see that figure thinking, oh, that's the salary they made last year, when in fact that was not. And so then when you see the raise amount, it looks like it's not that much of a raise when it is. I don't know if I'm-
Excuse me for that. We need to adjourn this meeting. So we're gonna- Okay, and then you can continue. If Eric wants to sit here. Need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. This meeting is adjourned.
You were gonna explain how special meetings don't cost extra money, and you didn't explain that.
Go ahead, Eric, if you want to continue. If you don't want to answer questions, that's up to you. We've adjourned. I'll leave it up to you.
Thank you.
I just had a couple more questions, if you don't mind. If you'd rather not answer, I would understand. I was,
Meeting after the meeting, that should be on.
is it your recommendation that persons who accept the tax statement should be bonded?
That is not in my purview.
Okay, so you haven't looked into anything like that?
No, that would be more of a legal thing.
Okay, who's on the bank accounts?
You would need to get that information from the township.
And you don't know anything about the signing authority or who has approval for spending within the office?
Part of the audit is determining who has signing authority
Okay, so can you tell me
and
that?
who approves, but again, that should come from the township. not
They
from
won't
me.
answer me, which is why I'm asking you.
Then I'm not answering that either. That needs to come from them.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to get some information, and I was advised by a forensic accountant that you would be familiar with all financial aspects of the township. So I'm not trying to make a problem, I'm just trying to get some information that is not available to me. You know, and the spending approval process, you would know that, but you're not willing to discuss that. Okay, thank you.